The South African journalist Andre-Pierre du Plessis has, like others, been closely following it. As you can see, he joins me live from New York. Good to have you with us on the programme. An incredible story, but I guess it's a story that many South African journalists wish they didn't have to cover, because this man is such a sporting icon, sporting legend.
Exactly. I think as any journalist working outside their home country, it's always interesting to see how stories from your home country is portrayed in foreign media, and I can only imagine. For myself, I've had the luck of interviewing Oscar Pistorius, and just one of the most incredible sports stars I've interviewed, simply because in a country like South Africa, which obviously is sports crazy, and we have some of the best cricket and rugby players. These are people who are obviously at the top of their game, like Oscar Pistorius, and often interviewing them means you can only expect them to be bombastic and arrogant, whereas Oscar Pistorius, and I think that's what adds to the tragedy of this story, only the most approachable person to interview, and incredibly humble, and as most people know, he's got such a great cause of helping underprivileged and disabled youth. So to be able to, or to be asked by your editor to sit in a courtroom drama like we've had this past week, I can only imagine must be hard for those who know Oscar Pistorius, and obviously also for South Africans.
Yeah, what do you make of the coverage both in South Africa and from around the rest of the world, particularly obviously in the States, given you're in New York? I mean, it's been headline news right across the world. How do you sort of regard the coverage?
It was interesting for me. In New York's tabloid newspapers obviously are well known for the kind of sensationalist coverage they give. And I guess this story just ticked off all the right boxes. Two incredibly attractive people, a murder that takes place on Valentine's Day. So on Friday morning, the day after Valentine's Day, for example, the tabloid with the highest circulation here in New York City, the New York Post, had a giant headline screaming, "Blade slays blonde," with a gigantic picture of Riva Steenkamp, a bikini-clad picture of her, and that kind of was the tone of the coverage that lasted throughout this entire week, and then even synonyms given to Oscar Pistorius like Blade Gunner and Blonde Slayer. You know, for someone, and again, this kind of coverage you won't find in South Africa, at least. What was also interesting to me is the cable news channels here. Again, the channel with the most viewers, Fox News, on Friday, made the example or tried to connect the two narratives of America's gun control debate, which is obviously very relevant. President Obama visiting Chicago last week in his push for banning assault weapons. And some Fox News anchors tried to use the Oscar Pistorius story as an example of what would happen in America if they were to have as strict gun laws as they presumably think South Africa has.
Andre-Pierre du Plessis joining us live from New York. Thanks so much for your time.